Hurry up and get out, you useless slowpoke. Go freeze in the yard.
It's cold. Please let me in. However, the next morning it was Catherine who was found in the yard, cold and trembling uncontrollably. My name is Susan, and I'm a housewife in my 60s. My husband passed away a few years ago due to illness. Now I live with my eldest son, Paul, his wife, Catherine, and their son, Jason, making it the four of us together. Although I hadn't originally planned to live with them, my husband's sudden death led us to this arrangement. I felt that living together full-time might make us feel stifled, so we did a large-scale renovation to ensure as much privacy as possible for everyone. Catherine is cheerful and sociable, with a wide circle of friends, and she's often out and about. It might have been better for both of us that we don't see each other very often. My grandson, Jason, is in fourth grade. On days when Catherine goes out, I sometimes take care of him. He's so adorable, and I just can't help but love him to bits. Paul's job keeps him busy, and since he sometimes works night shifts, our schedules don't always align, so we haven't had many opportunities to talk. From what I've seen, though, Paul and Catherine don't seem to argue much, and they often go out together, so I've always thought their relationship was fine. Catherine has a lot of friends and often invites them over to the house for parties. She's still close with the mom she met when Jason was in preschool, and they remain good friends. Every Friday night, these moms come over for a party, and this weekly gathering has been a constant source of frustration for me. The party starts in the evening, and they drink and make noise well past midnight. Sometimes even their husbands come over, and some of them get so drunk they pass out in our houses. No one seems to care if Jason gets tired or hungry, and he often gets bored and comes to my room. Once, one of the moms got so drunk she slipped, fell into a glass door, and was bleeding so badly we had to call an ambulance. Another time, a mom and her husband got into such a heated argument that we almost had to call the police. Each time, it was me who had to calm Jason down and apologize to the neighbors for the noise the next day. Even with all this, Catherine never considered stopping the parties, and she seemed to look forward to them every week. I thought about talking to Paul, but since he works the night shift on Fridays, he's never seen the chaos firsthand, and it felt a bit like tattling. I did try talking to Catherine once because I felt bad for Jason. Don't you think things are getting a little out of hand? I mean, calling an ambulance or the police is too much. It's not good for Jason either. How about this? On Fridays, I watch Jason, and you and your friends can go out to a restaurant and keep things more low-key.
Am I not allowed to have some time to relax? Living together puts way more stress on me than you think. I guess you can't understand that as a mill. And now, after all this time, I'm supposed to tell my friends we can't have the party at my place anymore? It would cost more to go out, and I just can't say that to them now. You just don't get how I feel.
She was furious, and the conversation went nowhere. One Friday, Jason came home from school looking a little down. He said he was feeling sluggish, so I took his temperature, and it was 100.4 degrees Fahrenheit.
Of all days to get a fever, it has to be today. Everyone's coming over soon, so go to your room and stay out of the way.
I wanted to say that maybe they should cancel the party just this once, but I held back. How about I take care of Jason tonight? That way, Catherine, you can relax a bit more. I must have said it with a sharp tone because she declined.
It's fine. You don't have to worry about us. We won't be that loud. Why is it that when a kid gets sick, the mom's always to blame?
I hadn't meant to blame her, but there wasn't much I could do after being turned down. If you start feeling really bad, come to Grandma's room, okay? I've got a show I want to watch tonight, so I'll be up late. I whispered to Jason.
Thanks. I'll be fine.
He smiled, and I felt a little relieved. But as expected, that night turned into another noisy party. I could hear the noise from the party even in my room. As I was worrying about Jason, who wasn't feeling well, I heard a soft knock on my bedroom door. I rushed to open it, and there stood Jason.
Grandma, can I sleep in your room tonight? My head hurts and I can't sleep. Even if I cover my ears, the noise is too loud.
He was crying as he spoke. I quickly brought him inside and gave him something to drink, which he gulped down as if he were very thirsty. His hands felt hot, so I took his temperature again. It had risen to 102.2 degrees Fahrenheit. I hadn't been this angry in a long time. But instead of confronting Catherine, I decided it was more important to focus on caring for Jason, so I bit my tongue. By the next morning, Jason's fever still hadn't gone down, and he was clearly feeling worse. Since many clinics only see patients in the morning on Saturdays, I told Catherine, Jason doesn't seem to be feeling well, so I think it'd be best to take him to the doctor this morning. But since she had been drinking late into the night, she clearly couldn't get up. Without lifting her head from the bed, she mumbled sleepily.
He'll be fine soon enough, right, Jason?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Jason responded, but it was obvious he wasn't doing well. Jason has had asthma since he was little, and whenever he gets sick, he's more prone to having an asthma attack. As I kept an eye on him, worrying that he might have an attack, sure enough, he began to breathe heavily. Catherine, Jason is having an asthma attack. Where's his medication? I asked her, but she was fast asleep, giving no response. I'm taking him to the emergency room, all right? Okay? After asking a few more times, I took Jason to the hospital. Thankfully, he didn't need to be admitted. They gave him a breathing treatment, prescribed medication, and we were able to come home. Jason's condition improved quite a bit, and I was relieved. However, when Catherine finally got up that evening, she exploded at me.
Don't just do things without asking. His medication was right here. How much did you end up spending at the after hours? This is unbelievable.
I checked with you several times. You couldn't wake up because you drank too much. Couldn't you hold off on partying, at least when Jason's not feeling well? He was in really bad shape.
A kid's fever isn't that big of a deal, and it went down, didn't it? Even his asthma attacks aren't that unusual. Just because he's your grandson doesn't mean you can spoil him irresponsibly.
I felt like I needed to tell Paul about what had happened, so I did.
In the end, Jason was fine, right? You don't need to worry so much about a kid catching a cold. Catherine's stressed from living together, so could you cut her some slack? You're the one who needs to take a step back since we're all living together.
After hearing that, I couldn't say anything more. One day, as their vacation was approaching, Paul got injured at work. Though his life wasn't in danger, he needed surgery and would be hospitalized for about a week. Paul ended up spending his vacation in the hospital. One day, Catherine said to me,
I'm thinking of spending the holiday at my parents' place this year. It's been a long time.
Usually, our holiday plans didn't involve traveling anywhere special. We'd just do a big house cleaning, throw a party, and have dinner with Paul's older sister, Julie, and her family, who live in the same town. Since I'd heard Catherine had been distant from her parents for a while, I was a bit surprised. But if she could relax and reconnect with her family, I'd be happy for her. It would also be a nice experience for Jason to spend time with relatives who would dote on him. That sounds great. Take your time and enjoy yourselves. You'll take Jason with you, right? I'm sure your parents will be excited to see him.
Oh, yes, I'll take him. By the way, could you handle visiting Paul at the hospital while we're away?
Of course, I'd be happy to. It looked like this year I'd be spending a quiet holiday with just some hospital visits for Paul.
If you're going to be spending the holiday alone, why don't you come to our place this year?
When I told Julie about it, she kindly suggested that, so I decided to take her up on the offer. Both Catherine and I would be leaving the house for the holiday. On the holiday morning, I was sweating from doing a thorough cleaning of the house. Lately, cleaning had become more of a chore as I've gotten older, and I was paying for putting it off. Catherine had been out shopping since the morning, so I ended up doing the deep cleaning on my own. When Catherine returned from her shopping trip, she suddenly started checking the time and seemed a bit anxious.
Susan, when are you planning to leave the house? You're not done yet.
Well, I haven't decided exactly when I'll leave. I'm almost done though. What about you? When are you heading out? If you're leaving first, I can lock up and make sure everything's secure.
Oh, no, we don't have a set time either, so it's fine.
As I rested, trying to ease my aching back while cleaning the entryway, Catherine suddenly seemed irritated. She shoved me out the door and tossed my packed bags after me.
How long are you going to take with this cleaning, you slowpoke? Just freeze out there, you useless old woman.
I had worked up a sweat from all the cleaning, so I was lightly dressed. Being thrown outside, I immediately felt the cold. It had started snowing. Catherine, open the door. I'm not even dressed properly. I'll freeze to death like this.
You should have moved faster. Why don't you just disappear already?
She had thrown my coat out with the bags, so I quickly pulled it on over my cold, sweat-drenched t-shirt. Both the front and back doors had been locked, so I couldn't get back into the house. I called out to Catherine for a while, but when I got no response, I gave up. Since there wasn't much else I could do, I decided to take the train to Julie's house. Eventually, I arrived at Julie's, and she was shocked to see me.
Why are you dressed so lightly? Get inside quickly. You're going to catch a cold like this. And didn't you run into Bob? He went to pick you up because it started snowing, and he was worried. He said he texted you.
It was only then that I realized I had left my phone at home. Bob is Julie's son, a college student. I felt bad because he had come all the way to get me, but we must have missed each other. Julie called Bob to let him know I had taken the train, and he came back.
Oh, so that's what happened.
Then Bob told us something shocking.
When I got to your house and you didn't come out, I called you a few times, but you didn't answer. Then I heard a phone ringing from inside the houses. I thought maybe you had collapsed, so I ended up going in. I'm sorry.
For some reason, the front door had been left unlocked. Catherine must have forgotten to lock it.
I found your phone in the living room and thought, where is she? Then I heard someone moving upstairs. I figured it might be a burglar, so I went to check it out.
Given that the door was unlocked, it made sense for Bob to suspect a break-in.
When I got to the bedroom, there was Catherine and some guy I didn't know, hugging.
What? Catherine was supposed to have gone to her parents' place with Jason.
I was so shocked that I froze. The two of them saw me and quickly wrapped themselves in the blankets, then jumped off the balcony and ran away. I tried chasing after them, but I couldn't find them in the yard. They got away.
You should have caught them.
The ground below was covered in bushes and snow, so I don't think they got hurt. Anyway, I locked the balcony door and was about to leave when I heard a noise from the room next door. I checked it out and found Jason.
Jason was hiding behind Bob, looking small and scared.
I'm sorry. Mom told me not to leave my room until the holiday was over.
Jason had been sitting in his room, surrounded by a pile of snacks, bread, and juice.
I figured Jason would have more fun at our place, so I brought him along. Oh, and don't worry, I locked the front door, the usual key under the flower pot. Glad it hasn't moved since I was a kid.
Good job locking the door. But Mom, we need to sit down with Paul and discuss what's next.
All right, Jason, let's go play some games.
The two of them happily went to another room. At this point, I didn't care about Catherine's affair. That's something for her and Paul to handle. But what she did to Jason, I couldn't forgive. Since it was already dark, I decided to relax at Julie's for the night and head home the next morning. The next morning, Julie, Bob, and I headed to the house. We left Julie's husband and Jason at home to watch the place. When we arrived, we saw a figure in front of the house. It was Catherine. She was wrapped in a blanket, barefoot, and trembling.
Oh, there you are.
You locked me out.
Catherine was trembling from the cold, her teeth chattering. We let her inside to warm up. There was no way we could talk like this. Once she calmed down, I started the conversation. Bob told me about the man you were with upstairs. Who was he?
What are you talking about? Bob must have been mistaken. And what was he doing just barging into my house like that? He should have at least rung the doorbell.
Sorry about that, but I noticed there were men's shoes at the entrance. Does Paul have shoes like that? Maybe we should ask him.
Wait, a burglar broke in. I was just as shocked, and we were struggling. It was so dangerous.
Oh, that's terrible. In that case, we really should call the police right away.
Julie took out her phone and started to make the call.
Stop. Fine, okay. I was having an affair. Is that what you want to hear?
So, who was he? Catherine looked down and said nothing. You jumped off the balcony with him, right? Where did he go? Where is he now?
He's long gone, back home.
Apparently, Catherine's lover had abandoned her and gone home, leaving her to spend the night wrapped in a blanket, barefoot.
What? He just left you? Wow, that's sad. Pretty pathetic, actually.
Catherine's face turned bright red, likely because Bob's words hit the mark.
More importantly, what were you planning to do with Jason? Were you really going to lock him in his room the whole time while you had your lover here? I don't care about your affair, but I can't forgive what you did to Jason.
I completely agreed with him.
He's in 4th grade. He can obviously take care of himself. Just because I'm his mother doesn't mean my life has to revolve around him. I have my own things I want to do, and just because he's a kid doesn't give him the right to interfere.
We were all stunned. Me, Julie, and Bob by her words, too shocked and angry to respond. Paul was due to be discharged from the hospital soon. Until then, Jason and I decided to stay at Julie's for the time being. The day finally came for Paul to come home. We planned to have a discussion at the house, but I didn't want Jason to be there for it. I feared Catherine might say something cruel to him. So Bob took him to play.
I'm home. Julie's here too. What's going on?
Julie calmly explained the situation to him.
Wait, Catherine, what is this about? Is it true?
Paul, I was just so lonely because you were always busy with work. It was a moment of weakness. Please forgive me.
Catherine, I'm sorry.
Let me ask you, this was locking Mom outside in the freezing snow just a moment of weakness, too?
What? No, that's.
And what about locking Jason in the room for hours while you were with your lover? Was that also just a moment of weaknesses? Paul, didn't Mom tell you about the Friday night parties with her friends? Why didn't you address it with Catherine?
Come on, give me a break. Catherine said she was stressed out, and I was tired from work. It was just easier to ignore it. And do you know how many times she complained about not wanting to live together? It was just too much for me to deal with.
You two are a perfect match. You both turn away from anything difficult and take the easy way out. Have you ever thought about how that affects the people around you?
Whatever the two of you decide to do next, that's for you to figure out. You're both adults, but you better take Jason seriously. I won't allow either of you to neglect him. A few days later, they decided to divorce. Paul got custody of Jason, and Catherine was ordered to pay child support and alimony. Surprisingly, the divorce went through smoothly because Catherine admitted fault right away. In the end, we never found out who her lover was. Catherine refused to reveal his identity, and Paul was too focused on starting a new life with Jason to care about questioning her any further. However, 3 months later, the affair was discovered by the man's family, and we learned who he was. It turned out he was a married man, the husband of one of Catherine's close friends. He had even attended the Friday night gatherings with the other moms. Even after her divorce, Catherine continued her relationship with him, and the reason she had agreed so quickly to the divorce was to avoid any further investigation into the affair and resolve things before it all came out. I can't understand why she would continue seeing the man who left her out in the snow to freeze. Catherine chose to stay with the man, even though she had to pay child support and alimony. But in the end, the man didn't get a divorce and decided to reconcile with his wife. Catherine was sued for damages by her former friend, and she was asked to move far away. I had always wondered why the front door was left unlocked that day. It turned out they were simply so caught up in the moment that they forgot to lock it. If they had locked the door, Bob would have rung the doorbell, and they might have been able to cover things up. I also told Bob that even if he thought the door was unlocked and there might be a burglar, he shouldn't have gone in on his own. He could have run into a robber and been attacked, so he needs to be more cautious in situations like that.
But I was worried about Grandma. Though I guess calling the police and saying there might be a burglar would have been pretty funny. Imagine their faces if the cops showed up and caught them in the act. I still have a lot to learn, right?
Even though he jokes around, he's trying to lighten the mood for everyone, and he treats Jason like his own little brother. Catherine's affair spread quickly due to her wide circle of acquaintances, and soon the entire town knew she had been having an affair with a friend's husband. It became difficult for her to live in the same area, so she moved to another city. Before she moved, she faced a lot of harassment from her former group of friends. In her new location, she's struggling to make ends meet, paying child support to Jason, alimony to Paul, and damages to her former friend. It seems that she's really estranged from her own family, and with no one to help her, she's working desperately. She called us once.
I'm truly sorry. I have no one to rely on, and I'm lonely and miserable. Please forgive me. Let me be free.
I could understand if she wanted to see her child or hear his voice, but to call just to escape the responsibility for what she did, it's unbelievable. Because of what Catherine did, Jason was bullied for a while by the other kids from his mother's friend group. Paul worked hard to talk things through with the parents and the kids, and eventually it was resolved. But for Jason, his mother's sudden absence and the bullying must have left deep emotional scars. I thought about telling Catherine how much Jason had suffered, but I doubted it would reach her heart. Is that all you have to say? Please don't contact us again. That's all I said before I hung up the phone. I started living with Paul and Jason, just the three of us. There have been plenty of challenges, and I'm sure there will be many more to come, but we plan to face them together. Paul has cut back his work hours to spend more time with Jason and be more present in his life. I'm also very grateful for all the help we received from Julie and her family. Julie said many things that I should have been the one to say, and Bob has been so kind to Jason, treating him like a little brother. I hope that as we move forward, Jason will continue to grow up surrounded by the warmth of those around him. Being able to watch that up close makes me feel like a very lucky person.